Welcome to a radical discussion of independence, free will, liberty, and the left-hand path. This is Daimonosophy with your host, Paul Frederick. And welcome, my friends and fellow daemons, to Saturnian sessions on Daimonosophy, where we explore the groovy dark vibes that descend upon the unwary who stay up too late on a Saturday night. And tonight I have Joan Pope of the Temple of Saturn. Hi, Joan.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You bet. So, I discovered your stuff, I think from Twitter. I think I follow you on Twitter. That's what it is. And I'd see your videos, see these videos come up on it. And every time I clicked on the video, I'd be like, wow, what is this? Because there's so much stuff that on Twitter that you click on it and it's like, there's not that much music out there that I'm not already familiar with that really draws me in. But I got addicted to checking out your videos when they came on there. And to me, they're like really, it's sort of what would I call this music? It's kind of like atmospheric soundscapes, and then it has cool beats, which I like a lot. That really gets me going. Is good beats, and there's really cool video stuff. So tell me how you do this. What's the music all about? Tell me about Temple of Saturn.
Well, I guess let me back up a little bit. I used to have a project called the Whip Angels, and that project started because I was writing poetry and performing my pieces at different open mics. But I didn't really fit into the open mic scene very well. I would get up there and just speak in my normal voice, and everyone else has this really like performing persona, and that just wasn't me. And I'm very shy on stage, even to this day. When I perform, it's hard for me, but that's why I did it, because I wanted to get out there and just try to overcome that.
And where's this at? Where are you doing these open mics at? You're in New York, right?
I'm actually like a little bit upstate from New York City, but I was going down to New York City and doing them in Manhattan and Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because that's just, I was doing them some locally, but I felt like the kind of people that would be into maybe what I'm about are probably people down in the city versus up in the middle of nowhere. So I didn't really fit in, so I basically learned how to make music to set my poems to the music. So that was my first project. And then about a little over a year ago, I just sort of like wanted to shift gears a little bit. The problem with the Whip Angels was, to me, it was like truly experimental in that I record almost everything in a different way every time. So it was really hard for me to reproduce it live ever. I was just like, I have no idea how I did this. Like once it's recorded, that was it. I'm like a one take kind of person. Like I leave all my mistakes like just right in there because I'm like, that's like the human touch in like a world where everything's like, oh, we can record it like 1,000 times. We can auto tune things. We can, automate music and whatever. I was like, I kind of like when things are a little fucked up. So Temple of Saturn, I really wanted to do something where I could perform live. So that was like, everything is like recorded basically the same way, and then I have a way of performing it live. But what it is really, it's almost like every single day people are like, what kind of synths do you use? And I don't use any synths except for the beats. I use the chord K-oscillator for the beats. All the sounds are my voice, guitar, or auto harp, and occasionally a mandolin. So that's like, I just cut it up into like usually very small loops where it's really layered. And then I take those recordings and I use basically, it's by Native Instruments. It's called the Tractor S2. It's like a DJ controller. That's what you would use this for, but I sort of use it in a different way. Where I cut up my loops and I'm layering them and affecting them. And that's what I'm doing live. So when people ask what's in the suitcase, if you've ever seen pictures of my performances, I play out of this like red suitcase. And that's what's in there. So it's like a DJ controller, and I'm able to cut samples from the guitar tracks, layer them, like affect them, fade them in and out of each other, and that's what Temple of Saturn is, I guess, like musically. And I'm trying to create stuff that is really meditative and hypnotic. I want it to be like, you're sort of lost in it, and then at the end you wake up, it's over, and on to the next act.
Oh yeah, so this music is perfect for, meditation or like serious chill activities, or ceremonial, ritualistic, occultish, left-hand path, ritualistic work. It would go very well and make excellent accompaniment for it. So it's just you. You're the only one. You're the sole contributor.
Yes, I have like some samples with Dead Editor. He contributed some stuff, and I also use a couple samples from my friend Chris Fern, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But right before he died, we were supposed to collaborate on something together. And then, after it never happened, I was like, what? It's like, I just need to like take little bits of what he did and try to like sew it into my work, just to kind of keep him going, because he passed away right at like a time when I felt like he was like about to take off. And it's really like unfortunate. So there's like there's like I think 2 songs that I sampled, like some beats that he had made. So but it will say like on there, if you look on Bandcamp, I think, like sample Chris Fern. So
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome that you can take something that someone's created, because I've done this. I've done a similar thing musically, taken guitar tracks from a previous guy in the band, in my band Asmodeus X, which I don't do as much anymore. I just kind of refer to it every once in a while when I'm interviewing someone else who's doing music actively. But yeah, I took old guitar tracks of his and brought it back in and cut it up and put it in. And it's a way of saying it's like the vibrations that this person made while they are here
right.
continue to reiterate, throughout the cosmos.
Well, I feel like it's just a way to like keep that person alive. So it's like, to me, it's like they're still going, and if people are still hearing them, and then maybe, even just from like mentioning his work right now, it's like maybe someone will check it out, and I'd be really happy if they did. Yeah. So
and it's also cool, just the concept of environmental sampling.
Right.
For me, when I got into sampling, I was really influenced by William S. Burroughs and the whole concept of cut-ups, the whole cut-ups theory. And the idea is that if you're taking audio clips of the real world out here, and you're taking it and you're cutting it up and you're putting it out there, you're restructuring reality. You're taking reality, you're restructuring it, and you're regurgitating it out back into the universe. So there's something very magical about that.
Agreed.
So how do you record? What like when you go to do your studio stuff? Like what kind of software, or how are you recording it?
So I don't know really why this works, but so in my old project, the Whip Angels, like I would record like through an interface and through Logic or whatever, and everyone always complained about the levels of like how I mixed things. Like it was always like, the guitars are too high, the vocals are too low, this is not right. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm just figuring it out as I go. Like, I'm not like at the level of like mixing and mastering like Michael Jackson records. Like, I'm not a pop artist, so like, who gives a shit? Like, this is just me like experimenting. Like, I'm literally recording it in my bedroom. So this is what it is. But for Temple of Saturn, and this seems to work a little bit better for whatever reason, I record out of like this shitty amp that I found like in the garbage. It's just like a little practice amp. And I play that, like I play the guitar like through the room. I use like a loop pedal just so I can record through the loop pedal. And then I just use my phone and I record just the noise in the room from my phone, and those are the tracks. And I guess it like maybe adds like some kind of compression or something to it, but everything then kind of comes together and sounds pretty good, and no one complains about the levels anymore. So maybe I figured something out.
No, I think you're onto something there. So, is it an iPhone?
Yeah, it's an iPhone.
So, what are you recording?
And
Like the memo function on it? What are you
yeah,
using?
just the voice memo. And like I have a new iPhone that I got in like a couple months ago, but up until then I was using an iPhone 5. So I was
Wow.
using an older iPhone for like most, a lot of the stuff that I've recorded. I guess I've recorded a lot of stuff since I got the new phone, but I put out 2 tracks today. Like, it's like I'm constantly like releasing stuff. I just like when I'm in the mood to record something, I do it, and then there it goes. Because if I think about it too hard, then I like don't really want to put it out there. I'm just like I need to put it out before I listen to it and decide I don't want anyone to hear it. So that's why I put out a lot of stuff. Like a lot of people can't keep up, but I'm like, you know what? That's not my problem. Like, you know what? Like
Yeah.
I'm doing this for me, and to me it's like it's meditation, it's like healing to me. It's the way that I, just deal with my emotions or my thoughts. And it does have a ceremonial aspect to it. Like to me, I'm like, this is my like way of worship and my way to express the things that I'm thinking about or whatever, and just trying to get it out there. That's what, the video and all the visual aspects, I think really, ties it all together. The music on its own might not stand up. I don't know, but I think it's all of the things. So the video, the collage, like my poetry, I haven't written anything new in a little while, but all these things together, I think, is what makes what I do noteworthy. But I don't know that any one piece really stands out on its own. So if I only did video, it might not really be that interesting. Or if I only did collage, it might not be interesting. But because it's like art, video, music, all these things, I even like use myself, my body, as like another medium really. And I think it's like the way I tie this everything in is what people are into.
Yeah. So for you, when you're creating this is really a part of your personal, like kind of initiatory self work is what the music production is. That's the ultimate aim that it serves.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think everything is like all of the pieces, like to me, like the collage is like I'm sending a message. Like each piece of the collage is like a hieroglyphic basically. And there's a message in there that, the people viewing it, I'm like, I'm just putting these ideas out on the internet. If you can interpret them, then like, then we're on the same page.
Right.
But if not, like, because people always like ask me questions, like, because of like the name Sex, Death, Rebirth, it's always like, what is the connection between sex and death? And I'm like, I literally answer that question every single day because I make a new art piece almost every day, and it's addressing that very question. So if you're paying attention, I already answered.
Yeah, and I think that there's some deep like Jungian or Freudian thing with that too. Sex and death. I can't remember what it is right now. Is it Theratanos? There's some word. There's some word for that
Yeah.
out of psychology. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, like Eros
Yeah.
and Thanatos.
Yeah.
I like to me, I'm like, okay, the connection is life. Like that's what's in between those things. And I'm living it and I'm showing you the connection like through the art. And it's like I get a lot of people who are like into the occult, into, mysticism, and they always really want like answers to the big questions just like handed to them. And I was like, people that like claim to have those sorts of answers are generally people you should stay away from. Because like I'm not into like the whole cult of personality. Like don't follow me. I am just a normal, mundane, boring person. Don't like I'm not gonna like give you the answers to everything, but I'm like helping you, you know, be able to ask those questions for yourself and find the answers within you. That's the whole point of what I'm doing. It's like what I've been able to, I guess, through my own work, like figure out for myself. I'm trying to share that with other people. And, from like dreams and visions and experiences, like all of those things have helped me develop. And through the art, through the music, video, everything, I'm hoping that the symbols that I'm putting out there are people can interpret and maybe have some of the same ideas that I've had and go on some crazy train of thought and discover something about themselves. That might be helpful.
So what do you think is more important, the question or the answer?
I think the question, like, because it's like every question just has more questions, and that's the cool part about life. It's like, I don't know, just a constant seeking. I don't know if I'll ever like feel satisfied that I've had like some kind of quenched thirst for the truth. It's like I just feel like I'm going in the right direction by asking a lot of questions. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I grok that. So, I mean, and that's an ancient esoteric thing in there also. The idea that the question itself is, I mean, not a simple question, but the deep question. The deep question of
Right.
like, what is life? What am I? What is the meaning of this? What is the relationship of sex and death? These really deep questions. There's something about being in that state of question that actually energizes or empowers or expands your universe in some kind of way. And people like, in ordinary society, people continually miss out on miss this opportunity because people view a question as something that has to be answered right away, right? If we don't know something,
Right.
if there's an unknown mystery, well, we either need an answer right away or else we need to be able to put it in some category like, well, it's a conspiracy theory or something. We don't know what the real answer is. So they want to categorize it and at least contain it in some kind of way. But the real deeper truth is that there's something powerful about it. So there's a word, runa, a Norse word that taps into this idea of mystery. There's like the Grail mythology of like seeking after the Grail but never being able to find it, and that's what makes the knights noble because they continue to seek after it. So, and I mean, this all makes sense with the music after I've like checked out your stuff and seen the videos and stuff. There's a huge like very mysterious element to it. So you're definitely onto something there.
Well, something that's I think very interesting is like if you look back at history, like there's been so many times where people think that they have it all figured out. And then, some time passes and you realize like, wow, they really didn't know what they were talking about at all. Like, because either things have changed, new discoveries have been made. So I always feel like it's a really big mistake to think that we know it all right now because someone's going to look back at us and be like, wow, they were really dumb. And it's just like, if you remember that, then I think you are actually like going in the right direction. Just like, what? I don't know it all, and that's okay. But I'm going to still like try to
Yeah.
keep finding out. Like, I always feel like when you think you got it figured out, you don't. Like, something's going to happen, and you're going to realize that you don't know anything.
Yeah.
So I just accept that, and that's how I live my life.
Yeah. So some people can't do that. Some people, if they don't know what's going on, then they just get frozen with it. So something you mentioned about your process made me think that I mean, I want to say there's a couple of extremes that people struggle with when they're going into the creative process. Like one extreme is you get so obsessed with your work. I see musicians and artists do this all the time. They're so concerned about what's going to happen with it and how it's going to be taken that they end up never putting it out. You know, that's
Right.
that's the extreme from what you were describing. Is like, you know, I put it out and then I like understand it. You know, there's all these basement artists and basement, you know, musicians that are great and talented, but they can't get over that unknown, that fear of the unknown, and just put this stuff out there. And then on the other extreme, you have people that they put their stuff out there, but then they become obsessed with the response. Like, am I getting a good response? How do I get a better
Right.
response? How do I get more fans? How do I do something so people will like me more? And then, you know, and then some artists they'll get that for a while, and then they become, you know, Michael Jackson or the Beatles or whatever.
Right.
And but then some people, they never find it, but they continue like chasing after that unicorn. So to kind of in one sense, it sounds to me like you found this like special balance like in between these two extremes, and you're kind of riding this current, you know.
Yeah, I think you summed it up really well. Like, I mean, I get a lot of people will contact me, especially like going back to the synth thing, like what kind of synths you use. I think it's like kind of people just trying to find a way to talk to me. So they're like, oh, we can like nerd out on about synths. And like, I actually don't know anything about synthesizers, because I use a guitar. But they're like, I have all these synths. And I'm like, oh, well, like, you know, send me your music. I'll check it out. Oh no, but I haven't actually recorded anything. I'm just waiting till I get more equipment. I'm like, just use what you have. Like, don't wait until, you know, that day might never come. So like, just use what you have. If you have a synthesizer, you can make music. Don't wait till you have 10. Like, just do it. Use the tools you have at hand. And then, you know, put it out there. Like, don't wait forever. Like, I mean, I do respect that, you know, some people, like, they really do like to perfect it and, you know, that's their way. And, like, that's fine. It's not me. I just, whatever. I just put it out. And I also know, like, I'm never going to be, like, like, that's not my goal. Like, I'm not trying to be Katy Perry or whatever. Like, that's not what I'm about. Like, I don't think, like, I know my stuff just does not have that kind of appeal. No, like, corporation will ever want to touch me. Like, I just know that what I'm doing is only going to appeal to like a few people. And, you know, especially like through Twitter and, you know, Twitter mostly I feel like is sort of the best one for connecting with people that kind of like the right people, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with that. Are you on Facebook also?
I am not on Facebook. I have a Facebook account that like I don't use it at all. Like, but sometimes people, like if I made a video for someone, they want to be able to tag me. So like I have this Facebook account and like if you go to it, like Joan Pope, whatever, it's the first like post you're gonna see is like, I don't use this. So if you message me here, I'm not gonna see it like for a while.
Right.
I have one friend that like it's like the only way to get in touch with him. So every once in a while I just see how he's doing and that's it.
Total respect, total respect. I'm completely off of Facebook. I mean,
Good.
I had my profile and I had a couple of projects I was working on there. Like I had the podcast, you know, page on there, and I had my band page on there, and I just deleted all of the shit like about a year ago. And
Good.
and I agree with you. I think Twitter is a better way to reach people, because the thing with Facebook, I don't feel like you reach new people on Facebook. What happens on Facebook is you get clomped in with all of these old scenes from your past, and then people you knew in school, and then your family,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
it's like, you know, you can't promote your shit because they'll come on and say, "Oh, what's this?" You know, and they'll say something stupid, and you just can't get anything done with it. And that, and the fact that it's just basically spy software. And you know,
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg and all these people who worked at it, they're really honest. They're very honest about, you know, about this. It's not any big secret. I mean, it's here to like monitor everyone And also that's what people use it for. People end up using it to monitor their friends and check up on each other and stuff like that. So I just like got
Yeah,
off it.
it's scary, and I feel happier since I got rid of it. And it's like I don't need to know what, someone I worked with 15 years ago is doing now.
Right.
Like, not that, like, if I saw them like on the street somewhere, like I would be happy to see them. Like, it's not that I don't like them, but I just don't need to know what they're doing all the time because, like, I just don't need that kind of mental pollution.
Yeah.
I just, it's like if you're within my world right now, then that's what I care about. I don't need like 1,000 people I know, just all the details of their life. It just drives me insane. And I think that's why everyone feels like a little bit crazy these days. It's just too much. And it is like this weird, like, collision of, yeah, like someone I went to fifth grade with, my like third cousin that lives across the country, and then like my weird occult friends from the internet, like
Yeah.
all coming together. And it's just a little too weird. And because I do feel like I have different like facets of my being and personality. And some people, it's like we're friends because, we were neighbors, and like our friendship is about as deep as like we got a beer together like a couple times. But then
Yeah.
some people it's just like, no, we've really been through some shit. And some people it's like, you're related to me. Or it's just, I don't need all those people kind of finding each other. Like,
No.
that's like
And
just weird.
and that's normal too. So like in ancient times, right? If you decided to join if you're going to pursue initiation in some initiatory school, then you go and you work with this initiatory school, and it's separate from your family and it's separate from all these other things. And why is that? Well, because they don't care about it and they're not going to understand it because they don't
Right.
have that question, right? It's that question that drew you to it. So this is just one example. And that's normal. That's normal and natural to disconnect from certain things so you can connect with other influences. But the people that are creating Facebook, they don't want people to do that. They want everyone to know everything about each other. And what year was this? I want to say it's like 2010 or so. Facebook realized that. Maybe it's a little earlier than that. Anyhow, they realized that people were using Twitter to get news, and they were
Right.
like, "Oh, well, we gotta get news going on Facebook." So they started pumping news shit into Facebook, and of course, it's a group of like elites in Silicon Valley deciding what kind of news is going to be the good news that they put in here. But all these people on Facebook are like, "Oh, wow, there's news now," you know. And they don't realize that it's a completely manufactured environment. It's not the same thing. Like people have made the analogy that, oh, well, this is just like email now, and this is how people are going to communicate in the future. Well, no, it's not, because when they invented email, they didn't have we're going to propagandize people and create a false image of ourselves and spy on people. But that's specifically what they're trying to do with Facebook. So I just think it's a shitty thing. And I don't think it like really helps anyone with their musical careers or artistic careers either.
It doesn't, because it's like I would use the page for my music project or whatever, and it's like whenever I was like promoting a show or whatever, it's like, that's weird because that post just seemed to not get any attention. Oh, wait, I
Yeah.
see what's happening. You want me to pay to get it on people's feeds? Like,
Yeah.
fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
these are my fans, and like, like I just want my fans to be able to see what I'm doing without having to pay you, because that's how it used to be. And if it's not like going to be useful for that, like promoting like a release or a show, whatever, I'm not going to use it anymore. So I didn't bother. I noticed that like it seemed like I'd post maybe about the show a couple days before, but it wouldn't start showing up on people's feeds until after. And it was like, okay, you know what? Goodbye. Delete. And so I'm just off that. What I like about Twitter is that it's really almost no one that I know in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the people, I mean, some people I've since met them because of Twitter, like we met, but most, like, I don't have, the like old guy I talked to at Starbucks, like he's not following me on Twitter, but he was friends with me on Facebook. Like I don't have those like weird random acquaintances that, you know, whatever the Facebook thing like really fosters that.
Yeah.
Twitter, it's more about because all right, Facebook, I feel like a lot of the people you initially added maybe were like people like within your like geographical proximity. So like people you work with, people you went to school with, whatever. Twitter, it's really about your interests.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm finding people, just other artists, other musicians that I'm interested in. Those are the people that I'm talking to, whatever. And then I follow just like a shit ton of people just to like, because I'm curious about people, other people's ideas and ways of life and whatever. But like the people I'm really interacting with are the people that I really have stuff in common with. And that's been really helpful as an artist and a musician, like, because I'm just finding other people that the bond is based on a common interest. And that's a better bond
Yeah.
to me than, you know, whatever Sally from eighth grade. Like, I don't care about that
Yeah.
person.
Absolutely. And what you're doing, I mean, you know, you're working on this, you know, this creative project that you're trying to put out there. You have this sense of forging into the unknown, you know, forging and discovering new worlds and stuff like that. And you can find that through something like Twitter, more so than you can with Facebook. You just don't find anything new on it.
Well,
And
I also wouldn't, I want to say though, like, I wouldn't be able to even be doing what I'm doing at all if it wasn't for social media. So that it's this weird, like, double-edged sword. Like, sometimes I really hate it because of censorship and whatever, and spying and weird things like that. But I just wouldn't be doing this at all if
mm-hmm.
this just wasn't even invented. Like, if I
Yeah.
was I was at this age 30 years ago, it just, my life would be very, very different. Like no one would know who I am at all. Um, so I do sort of, I need it, like, and it's very useful. It's good in some ways, because I wouldn't have an audience. There'd be no way to build an audience on my own. So it is good in that regard. But yeah, like things like censorship, it's like a lot of my art is very sensual and there's nudity in it. And it's like, that's not happening on Facebook. That's not allowed on Instagram. Twitter's the only one that's like, you can get away with it.
Right.
So
For now.
yeah, for now, I can see it probably like, you know, going the way of Facebook and whatever. I mean, Tumblr, like, I can't believe that happened because that was really like where I feel like I started out. Like, I had a blog called Sex Death Rebirth. And what I was really doing is after I graduated from college, I studied philosophy and religious studies. And I was really interested in religious art. That was, I think, what I would have continued, like if I had continued my education for like higher degrees, I would have probably studied religious art. So I started this blog, Sex Death Rebirth, on Tumblr, and I was finding images, like just creating this like massive online gallery of, it's similar to what my Twitter feed is now. Things that sort of art from, I try to pick from all different times and all different cultures, but that expresses like the sacred in sexuality and human life, you know, stuff that like represents human mortality, the temporary nature of our being. These, like, you know, there were some loose themes, and I had maybe like 14,000 images on there by the time it got closed.
Wow.
Um, but like they were like banning like things that got flagged on their new system was paintings of Jesus. Like that's like how ridiculous it was. It was like
I haven't even heard
Jesus
about
on the
this.
cross. Like
That's
they
amazing.
just
When did this happen with Tumblr? When did this all go down?
it was maybe like November, December of last year, so
Okay.
December 2018, I think. It was like about banning porn. So like, okay, you know, I get it. But then like just even like artistic nudity got cut to. They were trying to say like, oh no, it's not like you can still have it, but it was like paintings of Jesus by like El Greco. Like, really? Like, I've seen this at the Met, and I don't think this is porn, like at all. So, I don't think their filter system is really too good. Like, paintings of Adam and Eve wearing fig leaves got flagged. I was like,
Yeah.
the fig leaves are there. Like, this is ridiculous. This is just comical. I don't care if like they fix this flagging system. I'm not using the platform anymore. Just like, screw you.
Wow.
Like, and so whatever. So that's dead. But that was like sort of where I found like people on the internet. Like that's where I started connecting with a lot of people initially. Because I think I started that blog in like 2010, somewhere like around then. And that was like where I found a lot of like my initial like internet friends in sort of like occult circle, mystical circle. And then I started Twitter, and I feel like Twitter's just like taken over as my main social media these days.
Yeah, me too. Twitter had hashtagging too, is the thing. They had hashtagging
Right.
like way back when, and it's like Facebook. They tried to bring in hashtagging, but it doesn't work. It's just it's not the same, and no one really
Right.
uses it. No one really utilizes it there. But it's like I can go on a hashtag. I can fall down a rabbit hole. Oh, I found out.
Yeah.
Think of a cool hashtag, and then all of a sudden I find all this shit, and I'll find new people that way. You find new people, and like you said, I've connected with more other artists who are actually doing stuff. I've connected with artists that I've been able to like learn things from, that I've been able to actually have like meaningful, collaborations with on it. It's just been a great resource, and I hope it, for however long it's going to last. I don't know how long it's going to last. Any of these things are the censorship thing. So so I graduated high school in 1986. So that's kind of the headspace I'm coming from, and to me, where my learning and my education and everything is that censorship is just the absolute worst, most evil thing possible. Like I remember the big thing when I was young was the PMRC and Tipper Gore, and they were going to put warning labels on Ice-T records and Jello Biafra and all these people, and Frank
Right.
Zappa, made a big stink about it, and it's censorship is just the worst things. And I saw films of Nazis like burning books and stuff like that, and I just took a real strong imprint with it, and it just blows my mind the world that we live in right now, that censorship is just so normal, and a lot of people don't care. I mean, you and I are upset by it, but there's like a lot of people that think, oh no, it's good that they censor all that stuff, and they think it's a good idea, and they're just don't even question it, and it blows my mind.
It's scary because I feel like I've seen the change just in the last few years, like how it's like each year that goes by, what I'm doing becomes more and more controversial, even though it's the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. Like
Hmm.
I'm not getting more controversial. I'm the same as I always was, but like people are looking at it and or it's being banned. I know that I'm like kind of shadow banned on Twitter. I think if you search for me, like I won't come up as like a person or whatever. Like you'll see replies to me. So like if you search for at Sex03Birth, you'll see people's replies to me, but you won't see like my tweets come up. I don't know if it's still like that, but I know for a while it was. And it was just like, wow, why? Like I don't think I post stuff that's controversial. I post art.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that 100%. It's like I became far more radical than I ever really was.
Right.
And it's not that I changed what I was doing or what I was putting out there, but the world around me changed, and the world around me became, I don't know, more timid and more judgmental and more frightened.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like, and I don't really know. It's like I feel like I almost like woke up one day and the world was different, and I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing until I'm not allowed to do it anymore. Or
Yeah.
like, and even when I'm not allowed to do it anymore, I'm probably still gonna do it. So good luck trying to stop me.
That's right. You go, girl. So tell me about on your website. You have Rise of the Philosopher Queen, and you talk about sex, death, rebirth as a Gnostic cult. So can you tell me about that? So what is that? Is this do you actually practice a religious kind of system with this that other people are involved with?
Well, I see it as something I'm still forming, and it may take me a lifetime to form. But the idea is that it is like a very loose system of religious ideas and sort of rooted in this idea of like comparative myth and religion and like plucking different ideas from different traditions. Sort of I see it as like a way of like going into like the Aquarian age, and like social media in a way like plays a part in that, where I'm like, I have the resources now to be able to, study history and religion and mythology and bring all these different symbols together, put them out. Like to me, that's the teaching. It's like I'm spreading the word of this system through the art, through the music. And if you're taking it in, that's sort of your initiation. And you can like go further down the rabbit hole if you want or not. You can just observe, and that's cool. I wouldn't really say that I have followers or I'm trying to have followers that are like, I'm an initiate of sex, death, rebirth. I don't know if it's really like that's what I'm looking for. I'm kind of trying to show people make your own religion. Like you can make your own system and it should be like personal to you. So that's why I would call it Gnostic, where it's personal to you and your own self-analysis, self-discovery. Like I don't have the answers for you, but I have the answers for myself. So within me and through my own experiences and through even studying other people's philosophy, through learning about other people's religions, analyzing those different ideas in through the lens of like my own experiences, that that to me like is where I've gotten like real knowledge. Like that's when you take those things. I don't really like when people like, oh, what's your favorite philosopher? And then if you give them an answer, they're thinking like, oh, well, you must like subscribe to that person's work and that's your worldview. And I'm like, that's weird. It's weird to take one or two people's work and then just like that's your worldview now. I'm like, you got to make your own worldview because you're you. You're not that person. So that's what I think Sex, Death, Rebirth is really about. I'm forming just like a very loose system where I'm taking like different pieces and putting them together, but I don't know that it's really together yet. And I don't know that it will be for, maybe till the end of my life. It may never really come together.
It's a process. So
Yeah.
you're not, so,
That's, I mean, but that's the point. Like the process is the point. So I don't want to just, write some text and then be like, okay, I'm done with this now. Then what? It's like, it's not that easy. It's my whole life. Like when I look back even to where I was 2 years ago, 3 years, whatever, I feel so different. Like just every year as I experience more things, my worldview really changes because, there's been things that just have affected me very deeply and I just feel different. So it's like I expect that a year from now, 5 years from now, 30 years from now, I'm going to look back on this time and be like, wow, I didn't know anything.
so you said that you have a degree in comparative religion.
Yeah, religious
So
studies.
what ancient religions have influenced you that you found particularly um,
I think
rich?
I connect, I think, very much with like ancient Greek religions. Sorry about that. Um, so I used that a lot in my art. So like I did like a whole series on the Greek goddesses. And it's like I use like to me it's like I felt like I was like channeling them. So like I use my body to channel the different goddesses. And I just use very simple props to do it, like just enough to like give the idea of what it is. Like if you go on my Twitter, like not too far down, you'll see like the birth of Venus. So I did Aphrodite, and it's like, I mean, I'm not wearing anything because that's what Aphrodite like came from the sea, like nude. I'm just wearing like nude colored shoes with like a silver heel. And then I have on this very wall projected the sea. So, and I think I had like a shell actually, like this big glass shell that someone gave me as a gift. And it's like, that's my prop. I use like the music and I have just like an editing style. And I'm like, to me, like, as I'm like filming that, I'm like, I am becoming Aphrodite. And I'm trying to connect the viewer with what Aphrodite represents, like sensuality, love, like beauty, like feminine beauty, whatever. And that, like that whole series to me was a way to worship them.
Wow. So the Greek thing I can totally see. I can totally see that. I can completely make sense. What about the Greek philosophers?
I think I work a lot of them into my thing as well. Like sometimes I feel like I I think sometimes people sort of accuse me of being like a hedonist, but to me it's more of like an Epicurean like way of
Uh
doing
huh.
of hedonism, where like to me like pleasure just doesn't mean like endless or like happiness isn't just like endless empty pleasures. Like I think it's like sort of that's a dangerous like path to go down. um like yeah, I would like to like avoid the suffering in life, but I do think it's really necessary. And those times of suffering in my life have probably been the most interesting and like fundamental, really. Like, but it's like, yeah, I'm always trying to like make the best of those things. So even the way I approach my life, I guess it's when I'm like going through really hard times, I'm just like so over like being depressed and sad. Like I wasted way too much of my life in that space that I've learned to deal with it in a way where it's like I'm just going to channel that energy. Like I need to transform like all those painful feelings of grief, of loss, of all of those things. I need to transform them or else like I just can't function. Like I need to transform them. So that's even like why um I produce as much as I do. Like people are always just like, I can't keep up. And I'm like, because from the moment I wake up until the moment I go to sleep, I am working on my work. So it's like I do like some commercial like video editing stuff. And like while like video is rendering, I'm working on a collage. Like I am making use of like all of my time. And when I'm, waiting to like hear back from somebody that I'm working for, I'm working on my own video. I'm recording my own music. So I'm constantly like putting all those sort of dark emotions, those negative emotions, and trying to transform them into something beautiful because I had enough of like crying and being sad and whatever. Like I just can't do it anymore. Like, and looking back on my life, like I feel like I wasted my teens, my 20s, like I feel like I wasted all that time being depressed, being, unsure of myself. And like once I hit 30, I was just like, you know what? I gotta just transform all that
Yeah.
shit and turn it into something beautiful. And I can't question it. Like I have to just put it out there. And that's why there's just so much like
Yeah.
every day, like putting it out there because I'm like, this is the only way I can function. Like,
Part of that, a lot of people go through that. I mean, I can totally relate to what you're saying. When I look back at my teens and my 20s, I just wasted a lot of time, just feeling sorry for myself, and not really doing anything. And part of that, I think everyone goes through that. Part of that's the society that we live in right now. People like go through this public school system where they're basically prevented from growing up until they're like in their 30s or something, and then all of a sudden they have to go out and do all this stuff. And back in ancient times, I mean, when you're like, from a very young age, you start to learn like practical work and creative work, and the sense of like, doing things that are valuable and stuff like that. So I think that's a struggle that we all go through. And the other thing is that, I mean, that's one of the keys, what you're talking about, of transforming that negative energy, transforming your anger or your sadness. That's one of the keys of Anton LaVey's system of magic, is to take, these horrible feelings that you have or whatever, great sadness or great anger, and transform it. It's a secret of magic to transform that into something creative, something productive, something desirable.
and to me, it's like, this is a very simple idea. Like, to me, this is not difficult and it's not a secret. Like, to do this is to take like your negative emotions and feelings and transform them into something that's beautiful or, good for your soul. But it's like, I'm like, why don't more people do this? Like, why are more people doing this? And they just kind of wallow in it. And like, I get it. Like, I was stuck in that. Like, I get it. But that's why I think it's important to like have this conversation and to just to do it, because it's like, no matter what, like you can just do it. Like, so if someone's listening to this and they're stuck in, that space, it's like, trust me, you can do it. Just start. Don't worry about the result. Like, just do it. Because like when I look at my work, like, I mean, I look at it and I'm like, maybe about 20% of it is actually really good. And I feel really good about 20% of it. 80% is just like practice. And I put it out there anyways, because I'm just like, well, I'm going to share my process. Like, this is me, like, becoming an artist. Like, I wasn't really doing this before. Like, I was working in libraries. I did like a social work job. Like, I just was doing something completely different. And I had moved to a new place when I was like 30, 31, and I could not find a job in my field. So like I learned video editing, and to learn video editing, I had to just start doing it every day, like for myself. So it's like, okay, I had music and I was already doing collage. So I was like, I'm just gonna make music videos like every single day. So every single day I made stuff, and I'm like, that's how I learned video editing. Like, people hit me up all the time. They're like, what apps do you use to make your videos? And I'm like, it's not an app. It's called Adobe Premiere. Like, it's not like, I don't just like, I don't know how you think I make this, but it took hours and hours and hours to learn enough skills to get to this level. So if you think you're going to just download an app and produce this, by all means, good luck. But, it's like I had to teach myself like a new skill. And this is like, and it was something that I had to teach myself a new skill because I needed, a new career. Like, I needed something that, could be valuable. So I can make some money doing it, but it also was something that was good for my soul. And that, like, it's hard to find that. When I was like, I was working as a caregiver, I was working as a social worker. It's like, those jobs are like, they're good for your soul, but they're hard on your soul. Where it's like, it's rewarding because you're helping people, but at the same time, you're just depleting yourself. And it's some heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. So I just knew at a certain point that as much as I want to be able to do that, I just can't do it forever for long periods of time. I'm a very sensitive person, so to me it's like I feel like when someone's like telling me like, about their plight, like their problems, I'm like, this now has become my problem because I feel it as if it's happening to me. And that's been very useful in that field because they feel that. They feel that I feel it, and that's helpful to the person that I'm dealing with. But then it's like, I have no one to do that with. Like, I don't have the person to unload to. Like, it's like, I don't want to do that to my husband. Like, I don't want to, like, unload, like, I don't want that to, like, get in the way of our relationship. So I guess things have, like, sort of taken a turn. And now it's like, I'm trying to transform my own, all that baggage from before, take that and kind of put it through like the washing machine of art, and
Oh yeah.
it comes out.
No, that's the noble thing to do, to not, have you ever encountered the writings of Ouspensky or Gurdjieff?
Not real. Like I know who you're talking about, but I'm not like very well versed in their
Well,
works.
one of the things that I think that Ouspensky did that's really interesting, very significant, is he talked a lot about negative emotions. He did a lot of like discussion and work with this whole concept of negative emotions. He talks about how negative emotions are like an energy, and like for real emotions, like we actually have like an emotional center, and it's like in our, it's a part of our biology. It's part of our mammalian brain that we have emotions. But there's this thing called negative emotions, which are, they don't actually have a center within us, and they're kind of mechanical, and they pass around to people. People pass them on to each other. Have you ever, I mean, this happens in workspaces all the time. One person gets mad and they say something shitty, and you could just watch it spread amongst people. And everyone's aware of this. Everyone's aware of this once you get hip to it. And his prescription for it is, the whole secret is to just not express them. That's the thing that you do. That's the only way you change the course of history and change the course of your life and your relationship, is you just don't express negative emotions, and then you don't give them a place inside you, and you don't pass them on to other people. So
Right.
I have a really shitty day. I get home with my wife, and I'm like, I get that urge to like, complain about like the shitty thing that happened to me. And then I'm like, if I catch myself in time, what, I'm not going to say, fuck it. Because fuck it. Who cares? It's not going to make her life
Right.
better knowing that someone was an asshole to me. Let's talk about, something fun, let's talk about
Right.
something good. So,
Yeah, like there's something that I came across. I don't know if it's something I read or something someone told me, but I've been doing this for a while where it's like if something like bad happens, I'm like, I need to do just the opposite of what like my impulse is. So if like the impulse is to like wallow in it, I need to do the opposite of that and just like turn it on its head. Um, that's like I feel like I've really grown like since I've started doing that, where it's like, back in the day, if someone did this to me, it's like my impulse is to be like really pissed off, and
right.
I want to confront them and like, whatever. And it's like now I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I will say something, but just to like let them know that I know, but I'm gonna make it like not come from a place of anger. Like I'm gonna actually just try to talk about it in like a way that we can like change so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Or if something is like made me like really sad and it's like something that I'd be like really devastated about for months and months and months, it's like I'm gonna like instead of, just dwelling on it, use all that time that I would be time and energy that I'd be dwelling into like doing something else. Um, so it's like I just feel better as a person. Like I used to be more angry, and I would like, I'm always like just like a very quiet person. Like But, if people crossed me, like I had no problem like telling them and being angry with them. It was just like all this bottled up like aggression. And I was like, you know what? I gotta like be different about how I use that energy. So it's like now I just try to be like, you know what? Like let's, address it in a way where I'm not yelling at you. And because if I yell at you, you're just gonna like hate me more, like you're just gonna do it again
Yeah.
or whatever. But if we just like talk about it in a way where it's like, hey, you know what, there was a problem. Let's just get to the bottom of it so we can like forget about it and move on. I feel like you're more likely to get results with the other person you're dealing with because people like they don't like to be yelled at. Sometimes they do you don't want them to do out of spite or like whatever. Like if you're like you see this all the time with like Twitter like fights that people have when they have like disagreements. And it's just like sometimes you just gotta like let it go. It's just not worth it. Like you're not gonna change the person's opinion or whatever like by yelling at them. Like if you're just like, yeah, like you have your way, I have mine, you're welcome to like talk to me about it if you want. And I like to just like lead by example, I guess. It's like, I think, if I think that my philosophy or my idea is the better one, then like I'll show you by like the test of time. Like you'll be back in a few years to be like, yeah, you were right. But I don't
Yeah.
need to like have the instant gratification.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, all right. So you want to check out a song?
Yeah.
So what are we're going to listen to and we're going to see the video for Destroy the Outer Darkness.
Yep.
You want to tell us about this?
So the video actually was inspired by an art piece that I can't remember the artist right now, but I would say like a early 1900s, maybe like German or Austrian artist, and it was like a woman with or a Boros like spinning around her. I like got that idea from that where I took like a different woman and I animated the snake going around her. So it's like I had made something inspired by another artwork, and I do that a lot. Like I'll like see like you know an art piece. I'm like, oh, like here's this cool piece where it's like depicting the Prometheus myth or something, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make a Prometheus collage or whatever. So that's where the imagery had come from. And then with the song, like to me that's like it is like really like what we were just talking about of like destroying the negative emotions and transforming them. Like that really is like I think the emotional like road that I was on when I was recording that. So it's a good segue.
Yeah. Totally speaking my language. So I want everyone to go check out Joan Pope and the Temple of Saturn on Bandcamp and Vimeo and Twitter. What's the best place to find you at?
I mean, my website, jumpup.com, is where you can like find all the little pieces. But I'm really active on Twitter. I'm at Sex of Rebirth and at Temple of Saturn, and of is OV. For people if you can't find it. So I'm very active there. I'm on Instagram, but it's like the back burner social media to me. It's owned by Facebook. I really don't really want to use it anymore, but
Yeah, it's kind
if
of
you're there,
yeah, it's kind of back
it,
alley.
it's not really that useful. I don't really try to like even like expand my audience there. Like it is what it is. I have it there. But Twitter's good, Bandcamp,
So
Vimeo.
I saw that you spell OV. You use the OV. Where is that from? Psychic TV, Temple of
No,
Psychic
it's
Use.
actually it's not. It's just I wanted the name Temple of Saturn when I went to like take the Bandcamp name. There was already a band called Temple of Saturn, like OF. And I was like, they hadn't released anything in like a really long time, so they didn't really seem like an active band. And I was like, all right, I still want this name. I'm just gonna change the spelling. So
Cool.
I just changed the name. I get like the whole like psychic TV thing a lot, and I'm like, I actually don't like that at all. Like I don't like psychic TV. I don't. That's not the influence, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. No, I don't think there's any influence whatsoever in your in the music and everything. I don't see it as in the same caliber at all. I don't know. There was a time way back when I checked out Psychic TV and was into that, but I don't know where. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know what it's all about. It doesn't make sense to me. But you're definitely tapped into some kind of vibe here. You're tapped into something. So I hope you keep doing it. Keep putting it out there. And I want everyone to go check this stuff out because it will help you to keep the dark fires burning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.